Welcome back, guys. Today's video is going to be about the same series, Saturn's transit through different houses and planets. Today, we're going to take two zodiacs, two Rashis, or two ascendants, basically Cancer and Leo. It's been a long time, so I'm just going to go ahead and do two different signs together, and um, let's get on with it. So first, we're going to start with Saturn's transit for the Cancer ascendant or the Moon sign. As we discussed, we're going to discuss both together. But first, we'll start with Cancer. So, what exactly happens when Saturn when Saturn's transiting through a different houses for the Cancer ascendant? First of all, Cancer ascendant represents crab or a lobster. The sign is very emotional or even moody certain times. If it's a girl born with Cancer ascendant, usually the height you would see that they're shorter in height. Someone who's a good astrologer, they would just look at the girl and say, okay, this is a Cancer ascendant person. Um, Cancer sign in itself is ruled by Moon or Chandra, as we call it in Hindi. So Moon is very emotional, right? 15 days it's a full moon, and then it goes towards the darker side. In Hindi, as we call it, Purnima and Amavasya. So basically, we can say that Cancer ascendant people may act a little bit moody. It's kind of difficult to know what exactly. Some things that they may like really good about you, and someday the same thing they may not like about you. So that's basically Cancer sign or Cancer ascendant. I'm primarily focusing on Cancer ascendant, which has more prominent sign. Cancer moon sign still would represent the same, but in Cancer moon sign, moon is more stronger. In Cancer ascendant, a lot will depend on where the moon is sitting. But let's get on with it. So, what happens with Saturn transit for the Cancer ascendant or the moon sign? So, for the Saturn, as you can see on the screen, Saturn will be transiting through your seventh house for the Cancer ascendant. Um, and it'll be aspecting your ninth house, your first house, and the fourth house. So, again, it's very important transit for Cancer ascendant as well because it is controlling three out of four important houses. And in fact, the ninth house itself is very important as well. So what is important? What is seventh house? Seventh house is partnership. Seventh house is your marriage, your friendship, your business. If you're in a business environment, it's your business as well. Seventh house is also your partnership. Any kind of partnership that you enter into is your partnership. Um, so these are the aspects that you can see from the seventh house. It is also your investment property. If you have investment, if you deal with real estate, it's your investment property can be seen from the seventh house as well. So basically, what is the impact of Saturn transiting through this? So one of the things, as you already know, Saturn is a Karka for delayer. It's a Karka for denial. It's a Karka for new lessons, hard work, and so on and so forth. So when Saturn goes through seventh house, it's going to give you some new lessons about your relationship with your spouse. Now, remember, Saturn's aspects are more dangerous or more harmful. I'm sorry, as opposed to Saturn sitting in the seventh house in itself. So Saturn sitting in the seventh house is not as bad as opposed to if it is sitting in the fifth house looking at the seventh house. That is kind of more dangerous or more significant, but still, nevertheless, Saturn is Saturn, and it will definitely give you more lessons or new lessons about married life. You may just get married as well. Because Jupiter is transiting for 3 months. If Jupiter goes away, your marriage, if you just talked about marriage, it may get delayed. Your marriage prospects may get less. Few people who said yes before and then they will say no, or someone who you said yes to, all of a sudden you come across them as someone completely different as opposed to when you saw them before, and now you decide to cancel off the engagement or marriage. So those are the chances when Saturn transits through seventh house. It'll bring you new opportunities in terms of relationship, but at the same time, it'll bring you new challenges in terms of relationship as well. It'll bring you new customers, new contracts, but these customers and contracts will bring new lessons in your life. If you're just getting married, it'll bring you a new relationship in terms of challenges. It'll bring you a new way of living life. It'll ask a lot of sacrifice from your end. It may bring someone new into your partner's life, and it'll it'll demand a sacrifice from your end as well. It'll put a lot of pressure on your partner's health. It'll put pressure on your partner's mental ability. It'll put a lot of pressure on their thinking process as well. So Saturn transiting through seventh house can bring some ruptures in the marriage or partnership. Um, it it delays, if you're an investor, if you're a real estate investor, it delays your investment property, or it puts you in legal trouble as far as the investment properties are concerned. It may bring you um, some problems that you didn't see or didn't think of, or you just bought a property for investment, and all of a sudden you come up, there may be a bunch of new expenses that you never expected it to come up, and now you have to deal with all those expenses. So that's basically Saturn transiting through your seventh house. So, second, we'll be looking at Saturn aspect to the ninth house. So, what happens? What is the ninth house? Ninth house is higher philosophy. Ninth house is higher learning. It's basically a transcendental knowledge. It's esoteric knowledge. It's basically um, it's not religion per se, but it is one of the houses for religion as well. um, Good aspect would get you into philosophy, and the bad aspect will push you towards, or stronger aspects will take you to religion. Good stronger aspects will take you to philosophy. So anyway, so when you talk about Saturn aspecting your ninth house, it's not considered good, because Saturn is considered low cater. Okay, it's considered low grade, or someone who's engaged in menial repetitive tasks. Saturn doesn't like to think. Ninth house is house of philosophy, which basically involves a lot of thinking. Higher learning does not. So higher learning and philosophy does not come naturally to Saturn. So ninth house is a house of instinct and prospects. It's the future. Ninth house is future. Third house is your current efforts. Ninth house is your future efforts. So it's definitely delaying something, or it's bringing some more responsibility. Some of the steps that you're going to take right now is going to take more efforts out of you in future. So you got to be more careful in terms of what you're doing. Ninth house is also a house of optimism. So depending on what your features were before, what your characteristics was. So basically, if you're a really optimistic person, all of a sudden you will find yourself to be pessimistic. If you're a pessimistic person, you will see yourself as to be an optimist right now, because Saturn will tell you to change. Saturn is basically a chemical. When you put Saturn as a chemical into your routine, into your life, it's going to change everything. It's going to bring new things. Saturn also create delays. So if you have anything related to ninth house, activities related to ninth house, let's say for example you are going to go for a long journey, you will see that all of a sudden your plans has to be delayed. You bought a ticket and you have to cancel the tickets all of a sudden now. Um, it also breaks hearts. So Saturn is basically fifth, and sitting in there, third from ninth, third from seventh as well. It'll break hearts as well, and it'll create a lot of problem in general in terms of anything that you plan for your future. Um, Saturn delays the inevitable future, but he signs off it as well. So basically, it will delay, but however, it will give it to you. So Saturn is someone, if there is any negative aspect, then obviously it'll completely take it off. However, if there is no negative aspect, if we're just talking about Saturn's aspect to the ninth house, the chances are Saturn will sign off good results at the middle of the transit. Once Jupiter takes off, and when Jupiter comes to the seventh house, all of a sudden you will see that the things that were delayed, the things that were holding you back, will all of a sudden start to ease off, and your Saturn's aspect to the ninth house will start looking much more better. Um, Okay, so Saturn will make you practical. Saturn will make you think more pessimistically, negatively. Saturn will break your hope at first, and then bring it back and give you. Once you learn a lesson out of it, then it'll give you better results. So that's basically Saturn for you. So Saturn's aspect to the ascendant or the moon in the first house. So as you can see, when we were going through Saturn's second aspect goes. I mean, basically seventh aspect goes to the first house, and that's Cancer sign. So what happens then? So Saturn will make you more tensed, serious, and you may start losing faith in yourself, in many things in general as well, because Saturn brings you more responsibility. You may start doubting yourself, and at first, and all things will change. Saturn doesn't stay the same, or doesn't give you the same impact overall. It gives you pain in the beginning, and then you learn a lesson. for so-called lesson, and then it'll start improving. But it'll give you jerks. It'll give you kind of shocking results when it first comes or enters into any house. So it'll give you more responsibility. All of a sudden, you'll start thinking that, oh my God, everything is negative, everything is bad. You cannot think anything good happening in your life when Saturn aspects your first house, because remember, it's one of the most important kendras. It is you yourself. You will try to distance yourself from the public life. You will try to distance yourself from. You will try to live more isolated. Try to bring yourself into isolation, because Saturn in itself will kind of bring you more responsibilities on that, because either because you have more work or less time, or it's just something that you think in your mind to do. um, Secondly, it'll seem like all of a sudden you were never prepared for this responsibility. You never thought of this responsibility, and all of a sudden this responsibility is coming on you. This will make you more cunning, but at the same time, it'll also make you more wise, because Saturn is a Karka for wise person, as well as it's cunning as well. So if you have Saturn very strong, you may see dark patches on your face, some problems related to your teeth or tongue, because first house also represents that. You might think of relocating to a new place, because first house is a place you were born. Saturn coming and denying your stay there, it may take you away from the place where you are, or it may take you away from the place where you were born if you're still there. So it's a good time for foreign settlement. If you're planning to put a file for that, it's a good time for that. However, remember, Saturn is aspecting your ninth house, so there will be delays, no doubt. But at the same time, when the Jupiter moves into the seventh house, aspecting your first house, and it aspects your sobers the effect of aspect in the ninth house, it will give you good results for foreign country. Remember that. Now, moving on to the next aspect, that is basically your ninth house. No, we already went through the ninth house. So now we are going to go through the fourth house. So Saturn's 10th aspect going through the fourth house. It's a perfect time to move abroad. Fourth house is the place where you were born. It'll take away from your homeland, home country. So basically, it's a good time to go away to a foreign country. If you were in a foreign country, then again, it'll take you away from your foreign country to your homeland. Something like that may happen. Something related to your real estate, your home country. You may feel much more brunt about the things that happens in your home country. Remember, everyone is feeling the same. However, for Cancer Ascendant, they may feel the more brunt. It may almost seem that the government is actually targeting them somehow, or you may feel more responsible towards your country, towards your own country, because something may happen. So you may be working in the field of taxation now, or there may be more responsibility about taxation towards your life, or there could be something related to that when Saturn comes into your fourth house, or aspects, 10th aspect specifically to your fourth house will give you more responsibility towards your tax returns or taxes or something like that. If you have deposits, if you've deposited somewhere, your deposit may get stuck. Only get out after a considerable delay. If it's real estate, if you put in a down payment, if you put a deposit towards your house, put a money into your escrow, all of a sudden for some reason the construction is stopped, some legal trouble came in, and now you are stuck, and your money is stuck as well. So that can be one of the things. Do not invest in real estate right now. It is a cause of delay, so do not invest in real estate right now. And quarrels and arguments. Remember, Saturn is the fourth house of happiness, so all of a sudden you will see that your happiness is not there. You may see more fights in your house. It may be you involved, or it may involve you, or it may involve people around you. So there may be more arguments in the household as well. It'll be more routine than you're used to. So all of a sudden, for the next 2.5 years, you will see that more fights coming on to your house. More importantly, the efforts to hide it means usually we don't, wash our linens in public. We don't fight in public. We don't argue in public. But however, during this transit, you may see that your fights are more public. Everyone knows about it. Everyone's talking about it. So that may happen specifically during the months of January, February, October till mid of November. So this is basically it for Cancer sign or Cancer ascendant. So now we are going to talk about Leo ascendant or Leo moon sign. So as I said for when I started the video, we're going to talk about both together. So let's start with Leo. So everyone who was in the Cancer ascendant, if you want to learn astrology, it's a very basic astrology, but if you want to learn and go through it, you may want to stick around with the video, or else as far as the Cancer sign is concerned, it's done. So let's talk about Leo ascendant or Leo moon sign. So what is Leo? Leo represents lion. It's the king of the jungle, right? He's the king of the forest. Um, Leo sign in itself is ruled by Sun, which is primarily your the king of the planets, right? It's the king. It's so they will always be king, no matter who they are. No matter they may be beggars. There may be a beggar who may have a Leo ascendant, but he'll be the king of the beggars. So wherever they are, they cannot back down. They cannot go out. Like they want respect. They want pride. They want prestige. That's the most important thing about Leo. So as you can see, Leo or Simha is ruled by Sun. It primarily Sun, prestige, pride, ego, attention is the main focus for this sign. Leo is the king of the jungle. Sun is the king of all planets. This person with this moon sign, especially ascendant, expects life to revolve around them. So if Sun is damaged or something like that, then you may or may not have tendency or qualities of the typical Leo, which is creative, which is really authoritative. You know how to balance your ego and your friendship. But if you don't have that, if your sun is damaged, then basically you will revolve around people who are weaker than you, so that they can just go out and follow you. You will not hang around with people who are of the same level or of the same talent just because your sun is weaker. So you may tend to uh, damage your own personality by hanging around with people who don't deserve to be around you. So they're naturally creative. So fifth house, Sun rules, Leo rules fifth house, fifth sign. So fifth house is a house of creativity. So they're most creative. They're very creative in terms of everything. They have natural creative artistic arts, unless your sun is really damaged. Otherwise, usually Leo ascendant or Leo moon sign could be really creative in some or the other way. They may be poet, they may be singers, they may be, an actor, a really talented actor, and so on and so forth. Uh, if Leo Sun and born at night, they mostly are used unused potential because sun does not rise at night, and it usually you may seem that whatever they are doing, even if they're actor, even they're born at night, they are doing less than what they than actually what they can. So that's basically Leo born at night. Okay, so let's move on to the transit. Saturn's transit through the sixth house. What is Saturn's transit through the sixth house? Sixth house is a house of legal matters, daily routine, hidden enemies, people who pray for troubles, uh, your troubles. And sixth house is also a house of your service, servants, deceased, dead, and pets. So sixth house is not a good house in general, but Saturn coming to the sixth house is not as bad because Saturn usually does good transit through the sixth house. Basically, it'll expose your enemies to you. So there are hidden enemies all of a sudden. Saturn coming there, your enemies will be hit because Saturn comes into your sixth house. So it'll bring in more responsibilities on your enemies, and all of a sudden they will make some mistake which will expose them to you. So that's number one. It's also brings along people who are usually your friends. You thought they were your friends, but they were hidden enemies, and all of a sudden they get exposed, and now you know what exactly you're supposed to do with them. So that's basically your sixth house. You may leave your job or profession in next 2.5 years. So that's one of the big possibilities because Saturn coming in the sixth house, it is your service industry. So it may bring in more trouble or more responsibility towards your work. So you may change your job or you may just leave your job, or you may change your profession or you may leave your profession, something like that. Sixth house is house of pet, so Saturn coming there means that your pets, if you have a dog or a cat, it may bring more responsibility towards your cats or pets, or they may seek more attention than usual. They may all of a sudden fall sick, or they may start barking at the night, which all of a sudden, which is not their trait, and you may have to spend more time for them or with them. So that's basically your sixth house. It's a good time to build new friends because sixth house will clean out or churn your friends list. Okay, so as soon as it turns out your friends list, you will come across new friends and you will make new friendship. You will come across new community. You will come across new set of people, and all of a sudden you will start enjoying there. So that's basically your sixth house. Sixth house is also house of your debt. Debt may, when the Saturn transit hits the first time, the debt may go up, and then all of a sudden it'll start going down. So that's basically sixth house transit of Saturn. Remember, Saturn, when it hits any house, there's going to be significant turmoil, significant changes in the houses. However, as the things start to smooth out, things will get better, and you may see much better experience or environment once it settles down. So next we're going to look at Saturn's aspect to your eighth house. So Saturn is aspecting to third aspect is going to aspect your eighth house. So what happens when it's aspecting your eighth house? Eighth house, Saturn in the eighth house in itself is good because it's increased your longevity. It's also Digbal, which is basically a Saturn's own position. Okay, seventh house is the best. Eighth house is okay, but it's still good. Saturn is the Karka for eighth house, so it's good as well. But Saturn's aspect is way worse as opposed to Saturn sitting in there in itself. So when Saturn aspects eighth house, it's going to bring in some health problems for you. It's going to bring in some concerns for you because your enemies who are now exposed, they will be like, okay, now that you know that I'm your enemy or I'm jealous of you, I'm going to bring in more trouble for you. So that your enemies are going to be more, they will more vocal, or they'll confront you more, or they'll put more efforts to degrade your name, or bring a bad name for you. You may gain weight when Saturn comes in the eighth house or transits through eighth house. Remember, sixth house in itself will reduce your weight or will try to get your weight down. But when it aspects your eighth house, it's going to increase your weight. So when Saturn hits your sixth house first, it's going to reduce your weight, and then overall, it's going to start increasing your weight when Saturn sees your eighth house. It may give you problems of constipation. It may give you trouble with your daily routines. It may give you some kind of trouble that's going to disturb your basically daily routine. Also remember, Saturn in the aspecting eighth house will uh, cause you problem in terms of your hygiene. Okay, in terms of, you may see unusual marks on your face, you may see pimples, you may see causes of chemical reaction on your body. Just because Saturn is going through your eighth house, it's going to bring some infections into your stomach as well. Then when you have upset stomach, it's obviously going to show it on your face. um, uh, okay, your father may lose some investments because 11th from the 10th house. So your father may lose some investment, or he may find his investment going ups and downs. If he's invested in stock market or mutual fund, it's natural time for that. But if he's investing in anything, or invested in anything, you may see that there's some major changes in his investment patterns as well. There may be some losses. There may be some things that's not good. Eighth house is your spouse's finances. So you may see your changes in your spouse's finances. All of a sudden, you may see, if you're married, you may see that your spouse has stopped working, or his income has stopped coming, or all of a sudden his income is more and then it's less, and then so on and so forth. Your spouse may get good benefits from the government at this time. He may get he may get he or she may get tax benefit, something like that, in terms of um, transit aspecting the eighth house. Next is Saturn's aspect to your 12th house. What is 12th house? 12th house is charity, hospital, charitable institute, donations, your sleep, your dreams, your fantasies. Saturn 12th house is also uh, your customer, your clients' customers. Your not your clients' customers. Sorry, your your competitors' customers. Okay, so that's your 12th house as well. So basically, Saturn coming in here would somehow impact these houses. So basically, it may increase your debt at the first and then start decreasing it. You may spend some money through interest. You may have taken debt, and now all of a sudden, because you lost job, or there's some changes in your job or your spouse's job, all of a sudden you find yourself in a crunch, your financial crunch, and all of a sudden you have to pay interest. So you bought something on a credit card, you bought something on a loan, and now you're unable to repay it before time. So now you have to incur interest on that. So basically, 12th house is that. It's a waste of money. So interest is basically waste of money. So you borrowed capital is seen from this 12th house. Debenture bonds are seen from the 12th house. As a company, when a company issues bonds or debentures, it's usually when Saturn is transiting through your 12th house for the company's CEO, and depending on the company's incorporation date as well. So that's basically your Saturn transiting through the 12th house. It may increase your expenditure at the beginning, medical expenditure at the beginning, and then it may subside down. It may bring your frequent visits to the hospitals. It may take you to hospitals one or more times, and then all of a sudden you may find yourself. It may or may not be because of disease, but you will be frequently visiting hospital or charitable institutions or donations. You may giving donations to your to the hospitals. You may donate blood to the hospital and so on and so forth. These are the 12th house aspects. You may all of a sudden find yourself taking more care of your health. You may find yourself, exercising or more concerned about yoga and so on and so forth. So that's basically, again, it's a 12th house aspect, or 12th transit may do that to you as well. Um, and now Saturn's aspect to your third house. So basically 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, third house. So third house stands for valor. It's basically bravery, artist, sportsman, hand skills that you do with your hands, your risk-taking ability, your siblings, a portion of your neck, this portion of your neck, and your shoulders. So this basically is third house. So you may see when Saturn comes here, it increases more responsibilities for you. Whenever Saturn comes into your third house, it's going to give you tremendous lessons. So if you're someone who's extremely negative, who never takes risk, who's like 9 to 5 kind of person, you may all of a sudden find yourself taking more rest. You may be forced into taking more rest. But at the same time, for someone who's always taking risks, Saturn transiting through third house or looking at the third house, it's all of a sudden it's going to make you more cautious. Someone who will become more concerned about what's going to happen next. So third house is basically what you do now, and Saturn is basically change. So as soon as Saturn hits your third house or aspects your third house, it is going to bring in those changes. Remember, you may get injured in your hands or fingers. If you have siblings, you may see more responsibility because of your sibling, or if you have neighbors. If I mean, in the sense, like, most people have neighbors, but if you're someone who's living in the far off land, then obviously this doesn't apply to you. But if you're someone who lives in the place in the normal society, you may see that you may have more frequent travel or conversation or communication or conflicts with your neighbors. So this is basically also your third house. So you may see some pain on your shoulder area, or because you slept wrong, or you just exercised, you pulled your shoulders when you were exercising, and so on and so forth. So be careful during that time as well. But that's I think it's basically for Saturn transit for today. If you have any questions, again, go ahead and put your questions and comments down below, and we'll take it further from here. Take care. Bye now.